Studio apartments are small. Therefore, maximalism is forbidden. If you live in a studio, you are minimalist. That is your one true destiny as a studio dweller. So throw all your stuff away and start a minimalist clean girl aesthetic Pinterest board, because that's the only style that's gonna fit in your silly little space. Could you imagine if I actually meant all of that? Those words felt so unnatural on my tongue. Of course you can do maximalism in a studio apartment. What channel do you think you're watching? In this video, I'm gonna give you 5 tips for making maximalism look and feel good in a studio apartment, or really any small space. And if you're new here, my name is Steffi, and on this channel I talk about small apartment styling tips, cozy living, and the joys of living alone. So if you're into that, consider subscribing and giving this video a like. So drawing upon my own experience in decorating my studio apartment that I lived in for 5 years, which definitely leaned on the maximalist side of the style spectrum. These tips are just kind of how my brain works when it comes to achieving a big style in a studio. So my first tip for creating maximalism in a studio apartment is to take what I'm calling the loud, quiet, loud approach, which basically means know when to really go for the maximalist moments and then when to pull back. Like, choose your maximalist moments wisely, because you only have so much physical space to cram that maximalism in. So just like a song, you have the quieter verses and then you have the louder chorus. This is going to be a very music metaphor oriented video, so buckle up. If you put in a decent amount of thought and planning into what pieces will be those big maximalist moments and which pieces will be a bit more subdued, then you'll be a bit more likely to not end up with like this hodgepodge of visual noise. Like a song, the art is in the changes in rhythm, the dance between loud and soft, staccato and legato, creating a symphony with your studio rather than a cacophony. And you might be thinking like, okay, cool metaphor stuff, but like, how do I actually make this translate into my physical space? Like, what should my chorus pieces be? And they can be anything. There really is a lot of freedom when it comes to maximalism. That's a very fundamental part of this style. Personally, if I were decorating a studio for myself and I wanted to do the maximalist style, I would probably focus the maximalist moments into the accessories while pulling back with the larger furniture pieces. That would just give the space a neutral canvas for the maximalist pieces to really shine. So like decorative pillows, decorative accents, wall art, I would make those be the louder maximalist moments, while keeping the couch and like maybe armchair, the big furniture pieces, they would be maybe neutral colors and like solids. But that's just how I would do it. This is like the simplest approach, I think. But like I said, there is so much freedom in maximalism. You really can go pretty wild. My point is that the wildness is all the more powerful if you also have little pockets of pulling back, those little pockets of being more subdued. And a real life example of this is this studio that is featured in Apartment Therapy. And as you can see, you can really pinpoint where the loud maximalist moments are. In this photo, her bedspread, decorative pillows, and wall art are the loud moments that really go for the maximalism. And then in the corner, you have her desk, which is more subdued. It's a simple white desk with only like a few little pieces on it. And in this picture, you have this vintagey looking statement making lamp. And then really the rest of the styling in this photo is a bit more quiet, a bit more understated. Here you have a really strong, bold color in the couch with a funky throw pillow and then the big wall art tapestry hanging. These big, loud moments are then tempered by a more simplified coffee table styling situation. This is a very good example of the loud moments and then the quiet moments and then the loud moments. And the quiet moments play an important role in making the loud moments all the more powerful. My next tip for achieving a maximalist look in a studio apartment, I'm calling the main melody must-haves. And this approach is basically where you would make some or all of your must-have pieces convey the maximalist style. So what do I mean by must-have pieces? Well, regardless of how small your studio apartment is, there are certain things that everyone needs and that every apartment is most likely to have. A bed with bedding, a couch or love seat, a dresser or some way to store clothing, a shower curtain if you don't have a sliding door to your shower. These are the things that pretty much everyone needs. They're like the main melody of your space. They're gonna be taking up space regardless, so they might as well be maximalist. This could mean having a statement-making headboard, or maybe a bold patterned bedspread, a tufted couch with interesting curvature, a shower curtain with a big bold design, a dresser with funky drawer knobs. Of course, it's up to you to choose where your louder maximalist moments are. Like I said, I personally would probably make my couch more neutral, for example, but at the same time, you only have so much space to make the maximalist style come across. So you might as well use some of these must-have pieces as a way to give off the maximalist look. And a good example of this tip in action is this studio. As you can see, she's really making use of her must-have pieces and having them be opportunities to make maximalism shine through. She has the bold color of her couch, which is a must-have piece. She has this beautiful Baroque style mirror, which really a full-length mirror is a must-have. You know, you have to check your fit before you leave for the day, you know? Everyone needs a full-length mirror. And if you're doing maximalism in a small space, you might as well make that floor-length mirror something ornate and dramatic like this. And then when you head into her bedroom area in her studio, she's definitely making use of her bedspread to convey maximalism. And she's even using her clothing storage situation, which in this case is her exposed closet. She's making that into a maximalist statement in and of itself. Her clothes, from what I can see, have a lot of interesting patterns and colors. So them being displayed actually does convey a sense of maximalism. So really, this studio exemplifies what I'm talking about, where she is using these must-have pieces to convey the maximalist style. You need these pieces either way, no matter what, and they're gonna be taking up space no matter what, so might as well make them maximal. My next tip for creating maximalism in a studio apartment is to really go for it with your wall decor. Obviously, with a studio apartment or any small space, your square footage is limited. There's only so much room for stuff around. But no matter what, you still have walls. And whatever space you lack for maximalist furniture and decor, you can make up for with your walls. Do a gallery wall, or a painted accent wall, or peel and stick wallpaper. Peel and stick wallpaper doesn't take up any space. One of the beautiful things about maximalism is you really can go wild with your walls. And drawing your eye upward is always a good practice in a small space. So hang those pictures with reckless abandon. All in all, it's just another pick on the wall. I could not resist shoehorning a Pink Floyd reference into this music-themed video, so it is what it is. And a real-life example of a beautiful use of wall space is this studio in Apartment Therapy. This is an example of masterful gallery wall execution. And then you also have the dark statement paint as a backdrop to the gallery wall. So it's like a double whammy of drama. And as you can see, he really did not hold back. Almost like every square inch of his walls are taken by a piece of wall art. And it doesn't look cluttered, at least not in my opinion. It looks very thoughtful and very strategically placed. And this really just goes to show that no matter how small your studio is, you have walls. You definitely have walls. And so if nothing else, you can convey maximalism by making this kind of a strong statement with your wall art. My next tip for creating maximalism in a studio apartment is what I'm calling the power cord of a throw pillow. I really think throw pillows are the most powerful way to convey any style. And the beauty of throw pillows is they really don't take up that much additional space. They really don't encroach on anything. They just innocently sit on your couch, being pretty. They're small, lightweight, movable, yet they do so much visually. They're like the power cords of a room. Honestly, if you just focus your maximalism into your throw pillows alone, that is gonna do a lot of heavy lifting for conveying maximalism. If you buy the right pillows, of course, you know, but the potential that throw pillows have is unbridled. And a really good real world example of how powerful throw pillows can be is this studio apartment, which in my opinion, her choice of throw pillows are what really bring the whole space together and convey a fun, free-spirited, maximalist energy. The throw pillows on her couch, especially this cool yin-yang one, have so much personality and color, and same thing with the pillows on her bed. There's like a whimsical playfulness that her pillows convey. And I really do think they do a lot of the heavy lifting in her space in terms of conveying a cool maximalist vibe. This really is a great example of how you can use throw pillows to say so much, you know? And my final tip for creating maximalism in a studio apartment is all about creating harmony within the space, which really just means creating cohesiveness in the space and having everything come together in a way that just feels right. So for example, the sections of your studio, so like the bedroom area, the living room area, and so on, should feel somewhat separated and like distinct from each other, but they should also harmonize with each other. This is the delicate balance between dividing a studio, yet also keeping everything cohesive with each other amidst the division of the space. And then when you add maximalism to the mix, it also becomes about creating harmony with all that visual stimulation going on. This can mean a cohesive color story. It can mean the repetition of different patterns and materials, colors. It's really all about thinking about how these things visually relate to each other. Your studio styling should be a democracy, not anarchy. Well, maybe a little bit of anarchy because it is maximalism we're talking about. Basically what I'm saying is think about how everything relates to each other, how everything harmonizes with each other. And keep in mind, harmony can have moments of dissonance. You know, those moments that kind of clash with the other notes, but they still sound cool and interesting. That's jazz. And maximalism really lends itself to this. So you can throw in little unexpected moments like personality pieces that express something you love, or maybe a contrasting color that you wouldn't expect, or I don't know, just something kind of weird, you know? You can play around with the decor in your studio until it feels harmonious altogether, with a little bit of intentional dissonance. And for this real life example, I am going to use my former studio apartment. Because one thing about my studio is I felt really proud of how I achieved that sense of separation balanced with an overall visual cohesiveness. And how I did it was pretty basic. I created separation with furniture placement and cohesion with colors and materials. So my couch acted as a divider between my living room and bedroom areas, and then the green, gold color pops throughout the whole space unified everything together. So I had the separation and the cohesiveness at the same time. And this balance is especially useful when you are doing maximalism in a small space, because it can start to feel like clutter, which, you know, nobody wants clutter. Just because you have a lot of things doesn't mean it should feel like clutter. It should all still feel very intentional, free-spirited, yet strategic. And then amidst this visual harmony, there were also those little unexpected moments of dissonance, which were things like my Legend of Zelda Triforce hanging on the wall, and my Death Note manga, my One Piece pillow. You know, those were just some weird, subtle moments of geekiness that didn't quite fit, but added personality to the space. And maximalism, at the end of the day, is all about personality. So those were my tips on achieving maximalism in a studio apartment. Hopefully all the music metaphors made sense. Really, that's just how my mind works. And I think drawing from aspects of all of the arts can inspire our interior styling, especially when we're feeling stuck. And really, give your girl a metaphor and I will run that thing into the ground. I just can't resist. And if you want some more inspiration for the maximalist decor style, I highly recommend you watch this video next.